Now we are live.
Yep. Play the video. Hi, welcome back everyone to another episode of Professional Roundtable. I am Joe Ash, and today we're so privileged to have one of my very good friend, and also a fellow engineer perhaps in a different field, today with us, and just sharing with us his whole journey and experience in his higher education and also in his career path. But before we go there, we would love to introduce to you what we do, Arrows Education. We are education consultancy and agency. We help you realize your dream of studying abroad. We have partnership across 30 over countries with 2,500 over universities and higher education institution that offer up to thousands of courses in every field you can think of, from K-12 to PhD. We're the most affordable support service that you can find to help you realize your dream of studying abroad. And the process is very simple. Just come and visit our website on arrowstransactions.com, complete our application form, and upload all the necessary documents like your university transcripts or your latest exam result. And we will reach out to you. Once you've submitted the forms, they will reach out to you on WhatsApp or on any channels that you prefer to help you process through and work through your application as well. And we will help you make these applications through to different universities, and we will give you an offer. We also would love to help you handle all your visa applications for your travels, as well as your everything that it takes to bring you there to this country that you dream of. And so reach out to us on all our social media accounts, on our website, on Instagram, Facebook, uh, YouTube, TikTok, and even on WhatsApp, here on the screen here, and get yourself started on this dream, right? And with that, I would love to introduce to you my good friend Lee Kin Wai, with us today. Can we have the camera on? Yes, yes. Hi, Kinwai. How are you?
Hey, Josh. Thanks so much.
Uh,
Hi, my name is Kin Wai. I am an IC package design engineer. So a little about me. I grew up in a small town in Malaysia called Malacca. Maybe you've
mhm.
heard of it. But after Malacca, I managed to go to KL for my education and then onwards to England at the University of Cambridge. After I graduated, I returned to Malaysia and I worked in Penang as an engineer, and now I am in Singapore. So that's a long story cut short in very brief. But I've been working as an in this IC package industry for the past 10 years.
Wow, wow. And IC package, it's such an
So IC,
important.
I should clarify. IC stands for integrated circuit. So some of your viewers may be familiar, maybe not, but
Mm.
basically it's in microchips.
Yeah, so you've been working with microchip companies, and so all these big names like Intel, AMD, and Nvidia. These are all big names in the industry that that our audience could be very familiar with. And if you're also considering like electronic engineering and computer sciences, these are different these are different companies that you must have heard of. And it is indeed such a privilege to have you with us, and just sharing your experience as well. Um, yeah, stepping into this field as an IC package engineer, this seems very niche and very specific, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, so before you even step into this, right, what were your interests in your high school, and what leads you towards engineering?
Yeah, well, growing up in a small town, we didn't have many opportunities or exposure to all these kinds of advanced jobs. Um, but I recall in high school, I was very interested in computers. So we did have a computer lab, and I joined the computer club. So that's where I got my first exposure in building computers, programming computers. Um, I also had an interest in robotics and inventions. So for Malaysian listeners, you might be familiar with the Minds Club, uh, MINDS. So that is also something that I was involved in, and a little bit of scouts on the side, perhaps. I think there's a correlation between people who join scouts and people
Yeah, yeah, we're both Boy Scouts, and for some reason, Boy Scouts are very prone to being in engineering field. I think that could be a cognitive bias here. And yeah, that's so interesting. Like, and so you already have some sort of like an interest going on
Mm.
even in a young age, and it kind of just seems natural for you to step into that field, right? What kind of subjects that you did well in high school, and what are subjects that you actually don't enjoy?
Yeah. So I think I did pretty well in the science subjects, in the STEM subjects. So that's including physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics.
Mm,
Um, uh, and not surprising for anyone who ends up in engineering. These are very important subjects in high school.
mm,
Um, but I was also quite interested in languages actually. So I do consider languages an area of my interest as well.
mm, yeah. Well, what's probably one subject that you didn't enjoy very much?
I'm not going to say history. But history is important. Make sure you study, kids.
Yeah.
Perhaps perhaps moral studies.
Mm,
That's a subject with a lot of rote memorization. Not that I'm an amoral person or immoral
mm,
person, but I just didn't like the subjects where memorization was the core focus. But I enjoyed subjects where you're allowed to use your creativity, you're allowed to solve problems, solve puzzles. So that was what I was most interested in. So, for example, additional mathematics, that was one subject that I really enjoyed.
mm. Yeah. That's really yeah, I would say this, I share the same thing as well, that history and moral subjects, anything that in Malaysia context, I think people who study in Malaysia kind of understand what that subjects is about. I think it's really tedious, a lot of memorization, and we really didn't like how it was disseminated to a lot of students as well. I think
Mm.
most people didn't enjoy that, but it's also a very crucial subject, especially history, that you have to score quite well in order to
You
qualify
you need to
into.
at least pass.
Yeah, you need to at least
Yeah,
pass that.
yeah.
And if you want to qualify for local public university, yeah, that is a subject that you really have to score well in order to be considered. So if you're a Malaysian listening in, kind of have to work a little bit on your history, even though you might not enjoy it. But in order to pursue your dream of engineering, as I mentioned before, like physics, your science subjects, these are you it might be very crucial for you to have some natural tendency or aptitude for it, right? And so, uh, yeah, think about that as you're making decisions. Um, and and so moving from your high school, and then you entered a really prestigious university. I would at least in many people's opinion, right? So tell us about a little bit about your university journey.
Right. So that actually has was a few steps in between.
Okay,
I mean,
okay, tell us about.
I didn't instantly finish high school and end up
Hmm.
in England. What happened was that uh, when I finished my fifth form exam, my school leaving exam, uh,
That's about
also known as
17 years old,
SPM,
right?
yeah, uh, I did quite well in my results, and I managed to obtain a scholarship to Sunway University College in Kuala Lumpur.
Mm,
So that was my that was a big opportunity because Sunway was in the capital city. Um, it did require me to move out of home at 17. So also it was a big change at then. But the scholarship allowed me to pursue A levels at Sunway,
okay.
and
Oh,
from there on, the university, back then it was quite small. It was much smaller than it is today, but they did have a program where you could apply to uh, these universities in England.
mm.
I still remember you could only apply to five universities, and it was either Oxford or Cambridge. So so every one of my classmates, they chose at least one. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, when I applied to Cambridge, we had there was an exam, there was an interview, all done in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and thank God I was selected, and that's how I entered uh, the University of Cambridge.
mm. When you did your A level, the scholarship that you get, it is it the merit uh scholarship that kind of just depends on how many A's you scored in your SPM, and then you get them automatically.
Yeah, this is the scholarship that is offered by Sunway. I don't know
Mm,
the policy now, but I think it's still similar. They basically offer a merit scholarship based on your SPM results.
yeah.
Therefore, you still need to study for history and so on. It's still important.
Yeah, that's true. And so you were afforded this such an opportunity, and also fundings to pursue your higher education, uh, because of a good result that you have obtained upfront, right?
Mm.
And so I feel like having this working hard on your results, your public examination results would does open up a lot of doors and make
Yeah,
some
well,
small things
I
much
would say
easier.
that that is part of the story because looking back, I've actually been very fortunate. There have been a
Hmm.
lot of people around me supporting.
Mm.
I remember that in my year, only two students applied from my school to Sunway because
Ah.
everyone else thought they couldn't get in or they couldn't they couldn't afford it. So
Mm.
I remember it's just me. I applied to A levels and one of my classmates who applied to accounting. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I think just being aware that there was this opportunity and there was a scholarship, and that was actually a really big differentiator.
Yeah, and so in this case, your information, your intelligence, being able to know all these things in the market is a great advantage, and that's something that Arrows Education can help you to do. When you consult us, we already have this knowledge on hand, and we are able to consult you better because we have full pictures with all our partners and all their scholarships, and these things that we can advise you on how to pursue them, and make your journey into higher education much easier. And so reach out to us, contact us, and we'll be happy to help you on um, smoothing out some of these processes for you. And so you pursue A levels, and then from there you applied to UK, and it looks like you have applied to Cambridge in this case, yeah. And
Yeah.
so what did how did you get there? And was there a scholarship? and what's it like?
Yeah, I mean, scholarships has always been very important uh, and necessary. So I I remember that I applied for 5 universities, and all 5 of them had scholarship programs. So that was one of the criteria that I used. Um, so just honorable mention to the other universities as well. I knew that I wanted to study electronics engineering. So what I did was I looked at a list ranking all the undergraduate programs for electronics in the UK, and I applied to basically some of the top 10 universities. So including, so besides the University of Cambridge, I applied to Imperial College. I
Mm,
applied to the University of Southampton, and
mm,
also um, the University of Sheffield. So some of these universities, they're the top universities, but others they are more like insurance.
no, okay.
Well, I mean, you need to hedge your bets, of course, and but all of them had the criteria where they offered bursaries and scholarships
Mm,
from either from the university itself or through uh, at the time there were many Malaysian companies offering scholarships to study in the UK as well. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
was the criteria.
I remember during our time, Quark's Foundation was like one of the
Yeah.
a
Robert Koch
few.
Foundation, one of them.
Mm, yeah, I tried applying for that. I didn't get shortlisted. I tried at the Star Education Fund, which I was shortlisted for, but I couldn't get in because the competition is so tight on
It's
those
very
on those
tough. It's
scholarship.
very tough. Yeah.
Yeah, but the amount they award, it's huge. Yeah, and so it's a highly competitive field for scholarship, but it's not impossible. I think it takes a lot of guts to and just put in your application and actually try it out. Yeah. And uh
So
y-
I guess ultimately for me, when I got into the University of Cambridge, I applied for a scholarship with the university itself. That
mm,
seemed to be the best choice because although it was not a full scholarship, it was a scholarship uh, without any bond, without any requirement. Yeah, so that one was the best option at the time.
yep.
But I recall that there are many other scholarships being offered by the Malaysian government, such as the JPA scholarship.
Hmm.
Um, there was also the Bank Negara scholarship and the Yayasan Khazanah scholarship. These were
Yes.
the main ones. Yeah.
Yeah. These are things we've already covered in a previous episode on scholarship that's offered in Malaysia, and those yeah. So it here's a proof of these are scholarship
So
that
I
has been
mean,
still active
I'm sure
still.
you have like other listeners not from Malaysia as well. So
Mm,
um, actually, what I found out is that the scholarship I applied to was called the Commonwealth Scholarship. So it is a scholarship that's offered to all residents of British Commonwealth countries. And yeah, as long as you're from a Commonwealth country somewhere around the world, the British colonized you at one point of time, you can apply for this scholarship.
yeah.
Like I said, it's not a full scholarship, but it's
Mhm,
a scholarship without any bond. So it gives you the best um, freedom, and yeah, it's
mm,
basically as long as you can prove that you have a need and uh, you are diligent academically, you can
mhm.
get this scholarship.
Okay, yeah. So how's it like studying in Cambridge, right? Like we hear about this university on TV, on everywhere, and it always feels like really prestigious. I don't know what's the word that you use. Um, very posh kind of.
Very posh.
Yeah, really posh kind of
Yeah,
feel to it. So is
yeah.
that true, or yeah? What should
There's a
I
bit of
expect?
that. There's a bit of that. I mean, definitely, what you see on TV, it's part of the Cambridge experience. But I would say more than that. It's like any other university. You have the nice, fancy parts. You also have the parts which are it's hard, it's difficult. So I would say that the best part of studying in Cambridge is probably the people you meet.
Mm,
You meet a lot of people who are experts in their field. You have fellow students who have actually accomplished. They're very accomplished even before entering university. Like some of them are authors, some of them have worked in industry, some of them are uh, basically it's the cream of the crop from all around the world.
Mm,
But like there are still that you can't vary too much when it comes to undergraduate studies. You still have to go for lectures, you still have to go for workshops, you still go for labs. So that part is probably um, quite similar across all universities. I don't think you'll run too far from that. The only difference is the people that you meet.
mm. Right, right. How did you adjust to, the weather there? How did you find your community there? Yeah, some of these are real struggles for studying abroad,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
think I think students need to know.
I know, yeah. Definitely, because when I went to Cambridge again, that was my first time in England, first time in Europe, and yeah, the first time I sat in a 14-hour flight. So it was quite a big shock, a big culture shock. But I think nowadays it's not too hard. Um, because we have, we have YouTube, we have books, you have TV. It's not like you're going to somewhere that's completely unknown, especially if
Mm,
you're going to some place like England. You've seen the Big Ben in movies, and you've seen all the fancy buildings. It's not too strange. I think culturally that is probably the most difficult part, because you really need to adapt and become familiar with the local culture. Um, I was quite fortunate because Cambridge itself is a university town. So when the semester has started, it's full of students, and students, regardless if they are local student or international student, they are always keen to talk to new people.
mm,
And yeah, actually, for I mean, credit to the students in the UK. They are always very warm and friendly, despite the stereotypes you might see. They are actually quite friendly, and they are very curious about international students. So just be yourself and don't be afraid to talk to people.
mm, yeah. So you really need to put yourself out there and socialize and connect. And would you say finding a community of your own has been tremendous, has been helpful in your study and in
Yeah,
being there in a foreign land?
yeah. I remember we had multiple communities, different social circles that I would be a part of. I think probably the the one that's most related would be my cohort, my classmates in engineering.
Mm,
Um, so the way it works in the University of Cambridge is that you have different colleges, and in each college, some are larger, some are smaller, but you have like a cohort of students taking your same undergraduate degree. I recall I had like 20 students doing engineering in my college. So what would happen is that we would go to class together, we would cycle together, we would discuss homework together, and that was a great help when it came to our studies. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, those are really amazing picture of what you can experience studying abroad, and I hope that our audience listening in can have that kind of dream as well. And when you go there, and just and if you have the opportunity to be in a overseas university, you gotta put yourself out there. You gotta build
yeah, yeah,
communities
definitely.
and be sociable, right? Don't lock yourself in your room.
I that
Um,
that's
and- yeah.
that's why I said at the start, if you go to any university, the studies that you get, it's quite similar. It's the people that you meet that makes a
Mm,
difference. So I'm really grateful for all the people that I've met, that I've talked to, that I could just go out on walks and be friends with them. And that
mm,
has been a really life-changing experience.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And just painting a picture that we can all look forward to. How did you? So IC packaging. That seems like I mentioned. It seems very niche, but you did not study like IC packaging for your engineering, right? So
No, no.
how do you choose that?
I like to joke that out of my 4 years of studies, of
Mm.
getting my bachelor's and master's at Cambridge. Out of my 4 years, there's probably one subject in one semester that is related to IC packaging. So yeah, it is a very niche area, and um, but it's not as niche as it used to be. I'll just put it like that. When I first um, um, when I first was applying for jobs right before graduation, I remember applying to this IC packaging job, not really knowing what it was. And
Mm.
when I had my first interview with my senior and the person who would eventually become my manager, um, they actually sent me a PowerPoint slide explaining what is IC packaging and why it's so important to the semiconductor industry. So, but I think that will probably be the case for anyone who studies engineering. You'll find
Mm.
that you'll study the basics, the fundamentals at university,
Mm.
but when you enter industry, you'll have to relearn everything. You
Mm.
have to pick up industrial knowledge and the latest advancements, and you realize soon that this is not just a one-time thing; it's a lifelong process. You have to keep learning and keeping yourself up to date.
Yeah, yeah, that has been. I feel like every episode we keep iterating that, right? Anyone who stops growing, you get eliminated, and so no matter where you are, the learning process doesn't stop.
Mm,
And so a lot of us are very worried about. If I get into this field, would I be irrelevant by the time I come out? I think it really depends on what's your attitude in terms of learning, in terms of reinventing yourself, being flexible, and uh, being courageous to learn things that are uncomfortable for you. Yeah.
yeah.
Help us understand a little bit like IC packaging. What's briefly what's it about? And talk a little bit about your field, right? Other than IC packaging, what are some of the possibilities?
So yeah, people always wonder what is IC packaging. When I told my grandfather that I was becoming a packaging engineer, he thought for the first 2 3 years he thought I was designing boxes.
Yeah, that
But I
that
mean,
that was
it's he thought I was making cardboard boxes for products, which is a real job. That's a real job as well, and there are also
it is.
engineers involved.
Yeah.
But IC packaging um, is actually a the IC package is actually a part of the microchip. And I'll describe it like this: if a microchip was a sandwich,
Mm.
you would have the tomatoes, you have the lettuce, you'll have the ham, maybe an egg in there. Um, but it's not a sandwich if you don't have the bread. So the IC package is the bread of the microchip.
Mm.
It's an industry that actually Malaysia plays a big part in. Malaysia, if you're not aware, it's actually has a very large industry in electronics. Um, in the past, it was mainly in assembly and testing, but in the past, in recent decades, they've actually advanced into research and design, and especially in the area of packaging. Um,
Mm.
so it used to be just this container for the
Mm.
silicon chips, and that was called the package. But nowadays, it's become such an important part of the microchip that the technology on advanced packages is actually no different from the silicon on the chip. It's that it's at that level of ad- advancement.
Okay. So it seems like you say you only have one subject to study about IC packaging in universities, right? What was the learning curve like, I don't know, stepping into such a specific area?
um, I'd say the learning curve was steep, but again, I was very fortunate. I was in a company where I had many colleagues and many seniors who were willing to train me up. Um, my first 3 months was just learning the tools, learning the technology, learning the processes. And I would say in my first year, that was basically the training, the basic training that I had to undergo.
Mm, yeah. And so a lot of us would feel like, oh, I did not study this for my university, and only have one subject of knowledge of it. And I think based on our both our experience in engineering field, a lot of time that's the least of your worry. I
Mm,
think I
mm.
think there's a lot of opportunity to learn and all that. And it seems like you have a team of really good seniors and
Yeah, yeah.
predecessors, yeah, to
It's
to
it's
help you.
it's quite rare actually in the industry to have such a supportive team. So I'm quite fortunate and I'm quite thankful. Yeah.
Mm, yep. So other than IC packaging, what are the different possibilities for somebody who studied your field, right?
So within Malaysia itself, besides the assembly and tests and packaging industries, actually a growing area is in silicon design. Especially now with what the Prime Minister has announced, they are setting up silicon design centers in Penang, in Puchong, KL, and uh, there are actually many multinational companies all around Malaysia, even in Sarawak, that does silicon design. So it's definitely an area that is growing much more rapidly now than when I first graduated.
Mm,
And there's a lot of attention on this area, and there's a lot of upskilling opportunities. I recently found out about this program where they would send students, fresh graduates, to Taiwan for 3 to 6 months, and Taiwan is actually the number one when it comes to silicon. If
yeah,
you are interested in electronics, you will know this. Taiwan is
yeah,
number one in
yes.
this area. And basically, they will train you even more when it comes to actually designing and manufacturing the chips. So it's an area that um, not just Malaysia, but governments all around the world, they are trying to grow their citizens in silicon design.
Mm. And yeah, silicon design seems always like dominated by the Taiwanese, and at the time, and for a long time, it's the Western world as well. They're dominating this, and it seems like there's a growing trend within Southeast Asia as a whole. I
Yep.
feel like it's being spreading with the trade war that's going on. Yeah, so if those are some of, if you're from this area or looking to start a career in the area, Southeast Asia area, in Asia Pacific area as well, I think these are fields that you can consider as well. um, what if I'm not, I studied your subjects, but I do not want to be involved so much in the semicon industry particularly. What are other options that I may have?
Well, when it comes to electronics and electrical engineering, the which is my degree, the options are actually quite broad. So I know some of my classmates who ended up in power companies. So for example, TNB, their utility
Mm,
company. So that is also a very big area when it comes to electrical. Many of them also ended up in telecommunications. For example, internet, 5G. Um, that is also a very big, and it's definitely a very hot area when it comes
mm,
to industry.
yeah.
Um, but I do know a few who also ended up in consultancies or banking and finance. They definitely do hire people who are familiar with engineering. Again, that will be something completely new you have to learn when you enter their company. But the skills that you learn in engineering, they transfer very well to adjacent industries,
Mm,
especially when it's something that is very technical and requires you to learn a new process, a new system very quickly.
yeah, yeah. I feel like I don't have to hard sell engineering anymore. I've done so many episodes hard selling engineering. Simply being the skills are so
I
transferable.
think that the tougher question actually is that what if you want to enter the industry but you don't want to study engineering?
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
because a lot of people think that, oh, I need to study engineering and I only need to study I can only study engineering, but I'm not interested in it.
Mm,
But that is not true. Actually, even in my workplace, I met people who studied different subjects. I've met people. I mean, not just engineering. That you have your fair share of mechanical and chemical engineers in the semiconductor industry. But I've met people who studied physics. I've met people who studied um, language, English language. I've met people who studied uh, biology as well.
Mm.
So that one will be a bit different because everything you've learned is not really relevant to the job. But the main important thing is that you're able to be trained up, you're able to learn. Those are the key skills.
Yeah, yeah. I in a previous episode also we try to explore different things that's happening in semiconductor industry. I have a friend who actually studied logistic, and now he's handling
Logistics is
the.
very important actually,
It's really
especially in
important.
this current
Climate.
industry. Yeah, current
Yeah,
climate.
yeah, and supply chain, it's really key. And if you're well trained in those things, uh all this chip, right, that engineers make and designs and make, right, at the end, if there's no supply chain, nobody
Yeah,
buys them, nobody, it doesn't get sold, you
exactly.
know.
Yeah.
So it's not only the engineers that are in the semicon industry. So don't feel like, oh, I must study engineering.
Another one that I should also remind is sales engineer. So some of you maybe you studied engineering but you hated it. You hated the technical side, but you can still understand the data sheets. You can still understand the process. Sales
Mm,
engineering might be for you because that is also a very important area. You need you need salespersons who can understand the product, understand what they are selling, and they need to know how to sell it to the customer. So
yeah.
if you want to enter this industry but you're not too keen on the technical, perhaps sales engineering is for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's actually quite popular in Malaysia, and areas, especially developing countries with developing industry area.
Yeah, where
Uh,
the industry is growing and
yeah,
you
that
have many customers. Let's just
yeah,
put it that
yeah,
way.
that was actually the first job that was offered to me when I graduated. Starting salary is crazy lucrative. They're willing to pay
Oh, wait,
you
oh, base salary is low,
base
but
base salary.
the commission is
Commission
significant.
is it's handsome, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember it offer 4,500 for the base
Oh,
salary,
okay,
which
that's
is
really okay.
which is
That's sorry, I correct myself. That's not low.
yeah, that's not
That
low.
is very high
That's
even today. Yeah,
50% higher than average entry level engineering job at the time.
yeah, yeah,
And there were all sorts of like additional, what do you call that, allowances, like parking allowance, car allowance, and everything that you can actually boost your, and then on top of that, there's commission. So that is a really viable entry. But I must mention that sales job is it's a very short landing space.
yeah.
It's a short
You really have
runway
to
career.
perform
Mm,
immediately. Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, that's sales engineering, and a lot of time we don't talk about that, but it's sorely needed in that area. So for somebody who wants to pursue like electrical and electronic engineering, and even pursue an engineering career in the semiconductor industry, what kind of technical skill do you think that the students can actually start preparing right now?
Yeah, I would say problem solving, critical thinking. Like everyone would say these are the key skills, but especially when it comes to a technical field, you will be presented with all sorts of problems every day,
Mm-hmm.
and some of these problems they will not have um, an easy solution. It's not something you can ask Chat GPT to come up with an answer. Um, so you need to learn how to break down a problem into smaller parts and how to address all these smaller problems and come up with a proposal as a solution. That is one of the main skills. But a second very important skill when it comes to engineering, especially in semiconductors, is communication. Um, um, I think this is why I said languages is important, and it's also one of the areas which actually benefited me. Um, because for many years I've been working in with multinational corporations. So English is the main language, regardless of who you're talking to, you'll be talking to people from the United States, you'll be talking to people from Europe, you'll be talking to people from Taiwan, you'll be talking to people from the Middle East. You'll always need to use English as the language. Um, and but besides English, if you know additional languages such as Japanese or maybe Mandarin or maybe Arabic, all these will actually really help because you're dealing with so many different customers all around the world. Um, the official language is English, but if you can talk and communicate in an additional language, it really helps with cooperation as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
communication is very important.
yeah. Um, how did you train on that one? You know, how did you train on communication? What were some of the things that you did before, right now or even before?
Mm, mm. I would say in school, just having experience speaking in public, presenting ideas, and giving presentations. That's very helpful. If you've already graduated from school, I know a lot of people who joined Toastmasters. That was
Mm,
also very helpful. We even have had a Toastmasters chapter or Toastmasters club in our company. So you had different employees coming up, taking turns to practice their presentation skills as well.
yeah.
So I think there's no easy answer. It's just practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I learned all that on the street, right? Uh,
Whoa, you need to
so
clarify.
uh, I kind of picked up a lot of this communication skill and language skills when I go out when after I graduated from high school. I started working part-time jobs where I actually have to deal
Mm,
with a lot of foreigners. I was selling pizza. I was waiting tables at a pizza shop and was able to like communicate with a lot of Americans, Australians that comes through, and it just brushes like it brushes up your language very quickly because you are now actually practicing it, and hearing accents, trying to listen and trying to respond as well. Uh, it improves your language tremendously, which a secret, it's I think both of us, English is not our first language, yeah.
yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah, English is not our first language, but simply because we were exposed and was able to practice a lot more, it helps to develop our language skills. And these are soft skills that a lot of universities actually don't teach. I mean, language, it's
Yeah,
better.
they kind of assume that you'll pick it up on your own, but that's not true. Actually, you really need to step out and be bold in practicing your communication skills.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I, I,
um
I have to give an example as well because I know so many of my talented colleagues as well who they're definitely more brilliant than I am, but many times they find it difficult to summarize and uh, explain the problem, give a description of the problem to other people during meetings. And that is actually a big obstacle because for them, for their promotion, for them to get noticed, they need to brush up on their communication skills. Um,
mm,
and yeah, it's definitely something that if you're able to communicate clearly and succinctly, it is a major advantage in the workplace.
yeah, I would suggest a lot of materials on YouTube on public speaking.
Yeah, actually, YouTube is so helpful nowadays. Yeah, just look at TEDx, uh, look up some podcast videos. That will really help a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I recently really fall in love with Shark Tank a little bit on how they present their business idea.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. They have to present an invention, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Watch all this kind of show.
Shark
Uh, s-
Tank taught me about the elevator pitch, how to
oh,
present your ideas in 15 seconds or less.
yeah, yeah. And I constantly needed to do that right now, because I have so many ideas that to present a solution, right? A really good solution. But if you fail to communicate them to your bosses or your stakeholders, you don't get buy-in, and if you're not able, and all these stakeholders and bosses, they have like what, 5 minutes for you per day.
Yeah, they are
uh,
very busy. They have limited
yeah,
time.
and so if we have to learn, like I think sometimes engineers like us, what we do is we have a lot of great ideas, oh, this is how I do it, a lot of needs and gritties and into a solution, and we're so proud of, but that doesn't matter to them. All they want is, I want a
Yeah,
solution, I want
you
my problem fixed right now.
if you can't communicate why they should listen to you, if you can't communicate the value that you can provide, then it's you're basically your idea is worthless because they can't understand it. And this is not just when it comes to talking and presentation. I feel like communication in emails, in written form, that's also
Mm.
very important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, let's talk about the industry as a whole. For you, right? So we give some outlook for our audience here, like something to look forward to. Uh, do you think the semiconductor industry as a whole, and even in IC packaging and chip design, you mentioned a little bit about that. What's it looking like in the next 10 years or so?
Um, yeah, actually, the industry right now is in a very weird spot. Because the 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 number one company on the US stock exchange is Nvidia right now, and is by far the company which is the most valuable in the United States. But at the same time, we are facing so many challenges in the industry with
Mm,
the trade wars and tariffs. It's an industry that's changing a lot. Um,
mm,
I would say that this is an industry that still has is very dynamic. Um, Things are growing, and we see that actually different countries they are trying to create their own supply chains, create their own industry when it comes to semiconductors, and that means that there is a lot of need for talent. In Malaysia itself, they actually have um, they have such a need for talented engineers in the semiconductor industry that they even are issuing special visas for talented individuals, um, including students who are graduating from Malaysia to 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 just stay in Malaysia and work in the industry. Um,
mm,
and it's not easy to get this opportunity because again the knowledge is very technical. The knowledge actually takes a long time to train in a person. I saw a chart saying that for the first 5 years of an engineer in semiconductor industry is just learning. Then the next 5 years you're actually just working, and then the next 5 years after that, 15 years later, that is only when you can actually start to make a positive contribution to your company, to your industry. Um, it's not easy. It's quite a long process, but if you want to look at it optimistically, you have job security. It's going to be a tough journey, but if you're interested, you just need to have a little bit more interest compared to the person next to you, and then you can go quite far in this industry. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, yeah. I still think, coming out from semiconductor industry, there's still a lot to look forward to in this area. Um, I feel like the world still needs
Yeah,
semiconductor for the next couple of
we still need
decades.
robots. We still need computers. That's not going to change.
Mm,
There's just going to be more and more engineers required.
yeah.
And it's not easy because with the chips that are being built nowadays, they are so complicated. Each chip can take like a few hundred to maybe 1,000 engineers to design.
Mm,
So each of us we are just designing a small part of that microchip.
right, right. Yeah, and over in, I think over in Southeast Asia, there's still a great shortage of engineers to
Yeah,
to speak into
yeah.
this area. Within Malaysia alone, I just read the news this morning. We're about 100,000 engineers short of achieving our goal, of our technological goal. And so
Yeah,
yeah, that's
Malaysia definitely has a lot of plans for engineering.
Mm,
Just looking at Southeast Asia, I would say that besides Malaysia, Singapore has always been a big center, but Singapore is a small country, so there's not many training opportunities.
mm,
And the other one would probably be Vietnam. Vietnam is also probably on par with Malaysia, or sometimes some people would say it's even better than Malaysia. But the obstacle in Vietnam is that they are not so proficient in English. They are quickly catching up, but just in that area, they are a bit behind. So
mm,
if you're in Malaysia, you do have an advantage because you're exposed to more English, you're exposed to different cultures.
mm.
Um, but yeah, it is a lot of competition within Southeast Asia. And
Right.
for many engineers, I've known many engineers who maybe from Malaysia they've went to Vietnam, from Vietnam they've went to Singapore, and actually I think we've also have a lot of Filipino engineers as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So I think every episode we also will ask our guests, how is AI impacting you? Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I was waiting for this.
yeah. So is it going to replace your job, or how do you see AI plays out in your field, right?
I would say that when it comes to semiconductor and microchips, we are part of the problem. We are the ones creating the chips that are replacing people.
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, we do use AI actually in our job as well. That the because the thing is, when it comes to AI, a lot of the AI are being trained using publicly available data.
Mm,
Um, but all the data, all the designs that we work for semiconductor companies, they're all private, they're all confidential. So it's not something that the AI can replicate, at least not yet. But we do use AI when it comes to helping our day-to-day job. So it helps, for example, in the communication portion that I mentioned, that one that is so important. It does help in that area. It helps in the design portion when it comes to checking the designs that we create. Um, Even when it comes to creating the designs, we do have AI that runs that. When it comes to semiconductors, for example, in the silicon chip, you do not design that by hand. You actually require scripts, and it's not the AI like in large language models, not the same kind of AI, but definitely use automation and scripts to do
mm,
the design, the testing, and the checking. Um, but the thing is, we are the engineers who are using this AI, you are using these scripts, and we need to know AI. It's very important to know how to use the software, to know how to use the tools.
mm.
Uh, it's not AI replacing us, but really it's AI supplementing our job. It's a new set of tools for us.
Yeah. That seems to be the same message across different people that talks about it, on our show here. Um, it does seems like the way maybe I understood this wrongly, but the way you put it, it's like as a IC package designer or engineer, you've been dealing and using AI for quite some time already,
Yeah, yeah.
even
This
before this large language model thingy going on.
I think it's an open secret, but when it comes to microchip design, we've been using automation for the past 20, maybe 30 years, 40 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
it's
you
been
still
there
don't see
from
that being
long, long time
replaced.
ago. Yeah. What will happen is that as the chips become more complicated, as the designs become more complex, you need both human and AI to work together. It's
Yeah.
it's not going to become it's not the humans being replaced, but rather human times AI, human multiplied by AI
Mm.
to create a even more complex product.
Yeah, and so whether you like it or not, I think AI is a tool that we eventually have to adopt in our workflow. Very much the same like 30, 40 years ago when computers were first out, and coming into industry. So many of us weren't working with computer, and right now, it's just so common that you must have a laptop or a computer to work
Mm,
with. And so AI is going to look like the same thing, just a different set of tools that's going to supplement and improve our workflow and help us to do way more complicated things that we didn't dare to dream before. and it helps with the advancement of technology. Um, but I think the same thing still applies, right? Would you agree that the moment you stop growing, it's where you stagnate and you get eliminated? And so
Yeah,
we grow with the technology.
yeah. I would say that when it comes to my industry, actually it's a bit more forgiving than that because, yeah, the constant stress of wanting to learn and grow, that yeah, that can be quite tiring. So, um, what I do know for some of my colleagues, sometimes they take a break, they take a sabbatical, and because the jobs are there's always a need for engineers. They can very easily get a job back after their long holiday. They are, if your skills are good, you'll always be wanted. You'll always find a place. Um, and what I do want to emphasize is that when it comes to skills, try to find skills which are that you can transfer to different fields.
Mm,
So if you're tired of being a technical engineer, yeah, you can transfer to sales, you can transfer to HR, you can transfer to marketing. But just having that engineering knowledge and having that ability to learn and grow, it's so important.
yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Just before we wrap up today's session, thank you so much for sharing your your insights, your knowledge, and your experience studying abroad. There's so much more that we can talk about, but I think we're short on time here. Um, uh, do you have any final advice for our audience as students and or to our parents who are listening in?
I would say that if your interest, if your passion is in engineering, in technical skills, if you're one of those kids who used to take apart a computer or radio and try to fit it all back together, yeah, then definitely I think engineering will be your interest. But if you're not interested in engineering, hey, that's okay. Don't have to feel pressured about it. It's engineering is not an easy industry. You will not get rich working in engineering. I mean, definitely no.
I wish, man. I wish.
But if your passion is there, it will really carry you through. This is an industry where I've seen many people who have graduated and they've joined engineering, but they realize it's not their passion. And those are the people who it's okay. You can change job, you can change your career within the
Mm,
first 5 years. Um, but the people who stay on, those are the most passionate people I've met. They are the ones who really enjoy technology. They enjoy building
mm.
technology. They enjoy having technology. They enjoy showing technology to the people around them. If that sounds like you, then I think you have a career in engineering.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for putting this out there and encouraging our audience as well. I think I think especially I feel like sometimes engineering has been overly glorified
Yeah,
of what
it's
it
not
is.
easy. There are many long hours. There's a lot of hard work. But if it really comes down to, is this the career path that you want to
Yeah.
continue?
Yeah, I might be the problem of over glorifying it by hard selling it too much
Okay, we need to
on
tone
this
it down.
channel. And
Okay,
with
kids,
that,
study accounting. It's
yeah,
actually even more important.
yeah. We interviewed Eason, which
Oh yeah,
we
yeah,
know
yeah.
very dearly, and on accounting and I feel like accounting and finance, and so that was a really interesting episode that we had. Yeah, and so if you love to hear more about this, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, on our follow us on our Facebook, and if pursuing a further a higher education, it's something that you're dreaming of, but you feel stuck or you feel like you do not know anything to do, reach out to us on our social media platform. Reach out to us on our WhatsApp. We will have a consultant ready to engage you, to consult you. Tell us and share with us what are your dreams, where do you want to go, and we will be able to utilize our system, our AI, and our technologies to help you figure out the best places and the best opportunity that you can have. And you can now start on realizing your dream of studying abroad by going to our website arrowstransactions.com. Put in your application, your details, and your documents with us, and we'll get you there. Right. And so with that, that's the end of our session here today. Thank you so much, Kin Wai, once again. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for inviting.
Yeah, it's been such a great one. And so I'll see you in the next episode of Professional Roundtable. See you.